Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves an album by an act named Tim Langworthy titled Illustrative Anecdotes. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves the album on the screen on Spotify. We're going to be listening through 6 of these tracks today, starting with Because of You, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, Because of You. What have we got? Oh, fantastic with the clarity of those guitar tones. Did I really like that? Wow, nice clarity of the bass as well, coming in with those drums. Hands are turning, another trip around the sun. I'm liking the leveling of the vocals with the yellow elements of the mix there. It sounds nice and consistent and smooth. A little bit of punchiness to an interesting chord progression as well. I'm trying to find another meaning. I'm trying to find the source of truth. I'm liking the cool response between those vocal and guitar parts as well. I think that sounds really great. All these days I'm bleeding to each other. I'll just find my way back to you. I like the guitars and how they ascend there as well melodically. I think that sounds really pretty. You know, I think we got a lot of promise with this track. It's clearly competently written, you know. The kind of acoustic rock kind of vibe to it. A little bit of vibrato on those vocals as well. Just going to that. Really tightly mixed. But like you can hear everything clearly in the stereo field and everything like that. I like the brightness of those guitar parts there, as well as how well the bass and the drums go together on the low end. I'm looking for a fresh new start. I must confess, I couldn't quite digest. I'm building roads to your heart. I could confess I couldn't quite digest. I'm building roads to your heart. So is this because of you showing gratitude towards someone for helping them to continue or to get further than where they were previously? Really interesting drum fill as well. Nice use of the hi-hat and with those floor toms and snares. Great choice to double track the vocals here as well. A little bit of extra power on this part. Oh, we're doing a double chorus. Oh, good use of 2.5 minutes. That's really charming. You know, it's a nice, easy to sort of follow, easy to sort of like appreciate opening intro single to Illustrative Anecdotes, Because of You. I think we're also going to be reviewing the acoustic version of Because of You today, so that should be fun. But we've got Gone Again, track number 2 for today. And we'll just let it play into the next one, actually, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so we're really highlighting the use of the acoustic kit with the guitars here as well. Nice little flickers of those hammer-ons and pull-offs there on the center field. Slowly moving towards the windowsill. Eyes keep focused, time seems to stand still. I like the occasional sort of triplet fills that we have on the snare just to break up the chord note and 8th note inclusions there. Nice foil rhythmically. Feel its portrait. Say lights fading, show you've gone away. I like that entrance there with those guitars. It's just so smooth, man. It was just so smooth, that transition. There was no fill, it was just BAM into those overdriven parts. Did you say I lost a friend or something like that? I think it's nice to have a little instrumental solo part here at the end of a chorus. I feel like it's justified its keep.
16, life ahead of you, this was clear.
Great creative use of panning there with those guitar parts there. Smashing decision there, nice to go backwards and forwards between the extreme left and right.
That he took away on best years. How many times must the physical replace psychological pain? You were the martyr, not the sinner, but the blood's thinner all the same.
I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the subtlety of those piano sort of dynamic marker sort of tom fills going between the low and floors there. Really great transition on below the vocals. There's nice niching of different elements in the frequency spectrum.
Streams and left, go again. Heartbeat scared, mind says I've lost a friend. Another day, another life, I'll be alright. I keep lying to myself, I'm gone again. I know it's weighing on your minds. We've talked about.
I mean, like, I'm listening to the lyrics here, obviously, but like, also you've just got this nice jangly lead arpeggio on the top, going between those intervals. And it's dope, man. A similar drum groove alongside a support from the bass guitar.
Times before.
And some synth heads as well. Nice addition there.
Complicated by design. Kept us coming back for more.
And we're finishing it off on a guitar solo, an acoustic version of that. That's nice. Different voicing I didn't expect. It's nice that it's a bit unpredictable.
Life for share, streams are left, going again. Slowly moving towards the windowsill. Eyes keep focused, time seems to stand still.
Okay, what do I think that one's about? Gone again. You know, talking about going near the window and everything like that, looking outside. I think it's about what's been loved and lost and everything like that. They were talking about 16, so maybe it's someone that they used to know and they just never came back again. Maybe they were looking out the window wondering where that person was, you know? But I feel like I'm missing some nuance there. It's a tricky thing about reviewing a track and trying to listen to everything at once. It does sound like a track where like they're mourning the loss of someone really important to them. You know, maybe they're gone again. Maybe this is the journey of the travels that people go on to sort of like explore the world and explore themselves. And that's just the push and pull of everyday life, is knowing that our relationships, interactions, and connections are almost entirely temporary. You know, nothing is guaranteed. But it was a really somber, pretty track that I had a great time with. I've really enjoyed Tim Langworthy's stuff so far. We've got track number 3, Old Man Sitting on a Step. This has got 8,000 plays, so that's pretty dope. That's a good effort, eh? Really palatable, friendly guitar line there. With a bit of sadness there, a little bit of bittersweet tonality to it.
There's an old man sitting on the step tonight.
Nice use of the organs and the rim snares.
Low, watches all around him fall to the ground as the cold turns into snow. See the change that's come unannounced, like a thief in the night. What's his place in the world right now? Is there purpose brought by light? The world has shaken.
I like the fact we don't sit on one main motif or chord progression here. We switch around the sequencing of those bass lines. Each part has a distinct sort of like way of expressing itself musically. And I sometimes you just don't get that with all the music you listen to nowadays, you know? Changing the way you play different ones with different chords and different melodies is an easy way of retaining attention, you know? I was wondering how close we're going to get to another song I remember like that. Again, great call and response here with those acoustic lines there. They're so proficiently played. Clearly we've got someone who is very skilled at the guitar. Because it's not just hitting the notes, but having that quote-unquote feel or expressiveness with the fingers and hands.
There's a girl sitting under a tree today. She hears about choice, wondering if she'll have the chance to shout, to use her still young voice. See the world change all around her. She thinks, what's in it for me? People dictate all the laws, choose to ignore my desperate plea. The world has shaken to the core.
Okay, so it's a common, like a meta commentary.
Push for something more. Hallelujah.
So is this about finding spiritual sort of peace and a grounding or an anchor point in the middle of all the crazy stuff going on in the world? I do like the overdubs in this. I think the harmonies are sensational. Again, we've had them in the second part, and I think that's a great place to put them. Kind of praying for a better alternative, you know? Showing gratitude for what you got in the face of adversity. I like that the organ is a sub-layer and that it's, you know, activating or propelling some of the extensions of those chord shapes. I think that's a really smart choice. You know, kudos to Tim Langworthy for being able to make these tracks in the Sean Fort Factor hit hard, tell the story they need to, and have proficient musical performances with different solo sections. Really making great use of that time. But that was charming. Yeah, I think that is about looking at what's going on in the world and you know, like seeing the people around you and how they act and how they dictate and everything like that, and trying to find, just getting down to a base level, like ground roots level, and seeing how normal people sort of attribute to that. I think that's basically what that track's about. Trying to see it from the perspective of people who aren't up above but are looking up. We got The Letter, track number 6 today, off of the album. This is a lot sadder than the previous one. A little bit of suspense, and it's a little bit uncomfortable. There's a bit of tension here, man. All that bass is welcome though. Really fills up that low end. Thank you, iLock Cloud. I really appreciate you authorizing it in the middle of performance. That's exactly what I wanted.
Is there a tree near you?
He's giving me massive Soundgarden vibes at the moment.
The sun, two flowers bloom for you far from.
Can you hear that really subtle piano on the right side there? That's the power of sub-layering. It sounds mystical and kind of mysterious, and like there's a little bit of suspense, and then that's the thing that's potentially causing that ambience there, as well as the j-j-j-j on the guitarist. I do like the way the percussion, those little cymbal hits that kind of oscillate around the headphones on the far sides. And it's sort of like a war, you know, the bands like in wars which like play the music like the marching drums or something like that. It's got that kind of vibe to it.
We'll dance and be happy when this is through.
Okay, so it's about getting through the adversity. Guy's got great pipes. I mean, I haven't really spoken too much about the song because I'm hearing a lot of similar ingredients to what I had previously. Aside from the slight differences in the way that we're extending those harmonies there. I also have to give a shout out actually to the composition and the arrangement there, because we have some really cool chord progressions going on with things sort of like are kind of descending from above, like, you know, the clouds in the sky that are sort of weighed down by the rain. It's like a terrible thing's about to occur even before you've even gotten there, you know what I mean? I like the sauciness, the spiciness of those lead parts. Is that Tim or another vocalist? It's got a kind of old, kind of grungish 90s rockish kind of groove to it, man. I dig it. The aesthetic is clean, but obviously it's not, because it's... You've got an interesting like low-end resonance there that's very bombastic. It fills it up and makes it sound a lot more sort of like heavier than it potentially has the right to be, considering the different ingredients we've got, you know, but it's still really impressive. Do flowers bloom for you far from guns? Alright, so I'm assuming this could be a letter from like a soldier to someone else, or like someone in a war zone or something like that, who's sending a letter to their loved ones saying, you know, how are you doing? I look forward to this being over if we can make it through. The rain there, I'm wondering if the person who was sending the letter made it through. And I'm incredibly emotionally sort of like, there's a huge weight to it. I like the Foley, the use of the rain there. I think that the heaviness of that part with the sort of guitars, the bass and drums kicking in and just smashing it was very appropriate for a song like this. This isn't a happy-go-lucky, feel-goods time kind of track there. This is a matter of life or death. It's someone in the worst possible situation communing with someone that they hope is in the best. And while there's a lot of love and affection in that, and whilst it's a beautiful sort of sentiment, like, and it's a wonderful thing to write a song about, you can't get away with it being anything like less than this. It needs to be intense and not aggressive, but like it needs to mourn. I think this is what this track does. It mourns, and I think it does a beautiful job at that, you know, things considered. We've got Abuse, track number 9. Oh, this is a complete contrast to its coloration, the brightness of everything relative. That sizzling lead guitar line alongside the ride cymbals. Great choice.
She quietly hits the bathroom sink, lets the water down the drain.
Oh, where are we going with this, guys?
Color turns from clear to red.
Oh.
It's just more of the same.
I mean, like, it's really, you can tell this is going to be a ride. At 6 minutes, this is by far the longest track we have today, but we're setting out expectations off the bat I think this is a track about domestic violence or something like that.
Stares into those sad, sad eyes. Lord, how did it get like this?
Great use of legato passage as well. I like how he works with those melodies. In fact, a shout out as well to the letter at the end, where it's something like that. He does like a really magnificent transition between those notes at the end on the tail of that last vocal melody, and it was really exquisite. The guy's got great pipes.
Thinks back to herself with her surprise. She masks her fear with a blown kiss.
Great dynamic range, crescendo into that.
Can't learn to hold back from this past. She's so ready to make him pay, like the bastard that he is.
I just wanted to kind of like let him play that out there, you know, let him play out that chorus, because you know it's going to be a ride here. And I think that anyone listening to this who has been through similar experiences to the person in the story will be able to relate to this, and there'll be a pretty heavy time for them, you know. I think as long as it's done tastefully and in a way that's not only musically interesting but also compassionate, it'll be good.
They go round and round. Where it stops, nobody knows.
Nice use of chromatics there with that bluesy scale.
She reaches for the second dresser drawer down.
Ooh.
She cocks that hammer back, and it's about to blow.
Ooh.
She looks into his man-sad eyes and thinks, why did it have to be this way?
That's horrific. I can only assume this has potentially been something that Tim has gone through, and if that is the case, I'm really sorry to hear that. It's terrible, you know. It just seems so authentic and raw, this performance, that I can't imagine it not being real, not being anecdotal somehow, you know.
Fate has determined it's time for him to pay in his own ways. Can learn to hold back from his past. She's so ready to make him pay, like the bastard that he is.
Phenomenal transition into the solo section, very tasteful. Wow. I just like the solo section, how not only got a really adept lead guitar player who's playing to the mood of the track, you know, they're not shredding up a storm of a billion notes. They're a little more in a little bit more busy than what was going on with the vocal parts, you know. But the bass line down the bottom is sort of rising as the guitar sings in the singer's place, and I just think that's so charming because the bass has mostly been down the bottom, but even it knows it's got to rise to the occasion. Really great recording quality. I'm enjoying the tone of those guitars alongside the bass and drums and how everything's put together. I'm sorry, that was one of the most viciously quick lead passages I've heard in my entirety of the time doing my reviews. That is some hella adept blues lead licks. This is someone that knows they can shred and has been waiting for that optimal moment, and it's just wild, dude. Like, I'm a guitar player and I can appreciate that, man. That takes talent, respect. Also a lot of practice, to be fair.
The pastor says lay him to rest. as I sit, dirt's thrown down. Funny how these things progress. She thinks back to herself about a life gone by. Her heart cannot escape that day.
And I think in a track like this, which is a longer form factor, you kind of need the drums and the bass to be a little bit more supportive of the rest of the elements than usual. Just so that you can allow the story to take precedence even with those really sort of fantastic sub-level lead licks.
Thinks back to herself and she starts to cry. And how she made that evil go away. And he's all in his ways. Can learn to hold back from this past. She's so ready to make him pay. Like
Great switch up with the grooves on
motherfucking
this.
bastard that he is.
That's how you swear in a song. That's how you swear in a song. If anybody's wanting to figure out the way to swear on a track, that's it. Don't get me wrong, I swear like a sailor in my off time, but it's difficult to get the right nuance or situation there. You just feel that more and more that rage from the person who had been abused. You know, and they're struggling to cope with how they even got there. And then at the end it's just like, right, he's dead, that motherfucking bastard. Show that motherfucking bastard who they are. I think that's wonderful. It illustrates just how it can build, that it can fester, those negative feelings of resentment, of rage, of anything. They can fester over time, just get worse and worse. Subtle little things that show that we've got someone here who really understands the fundamentals and excels beyond. That was sensational. Like, I think that was a really fantastically written and performed track. This is probably one of my favorite ones off of the album. I just feel like I resonated more with this. Maybe it's because I went through I never killed someone, and when nobody ever like started thinking about hammers and stuff like that, but I know people who have been physically abused, and you know, it's just I'm really thankful that we've got people making really mature, competent recordings of this and putting it out there so that people do not forget that it exists. And that, you know, it's not like it is in movies and anything like that. It's complicated. I do hope that if Tim has gone through this stuff or anything related to this album, I hope that they're able to get the help that they need and find a place where they can be safe. Or if they know people who are in that situation, that they can too. And if you're watching this and you're in that situation, please, if you can get help, please do. It's okay to ask for help. The last track for today is Because of You Unplugged. So we're listening to the acoustic version, I presume, of Because of You, which is going to be nice. Nice double tracking of those guitar parts, though. It's fantastic. Nice and clear.
The clock is moving, hands are turning.
A lot of compression on it, I think. I could be wrong.
Another trip around the sun.
I wonder if these were recorded in the same studio session or not.
I can't believe the day is almost over. So much work is left to be done.
It sounds like Tim in this one is like really close to the microphone. Like it's very close to this microphone. So you've got like the proximity effect there. Oh, I'm so glad that I've set up my audio properly so it doesn't distort when I do that. But he's got a proximity effect which gives a bit more bass response, but then it sounds kind of like more boxy. That's not a bad thing. It's just the fuller sound, you know?
I try to find the source of truth when all these days I'm bleeding to each other. I'll just find my way back to you. Because of you, I can find my...
I don't like that we didn't commit to that note like we did in the original recording. I think it sounded a little bit naked because of you. I mean, I can't sing like he can, but rhythmically, I think because of you. If we're going up to that note there on the beat as per the studio, I just think that would have been more effective. I just think that at this point, maybe, you know, unless you know your listeners are incredibly familiar with your work, it's a big risk with even little things like that, you know? Like it's a hook line after all, you know?
We'll find a way, one way or another. 'Cause of you, I obsess, I believe. I'm looking for a next day sequel. I'm looking for a fresh new start. I must confess, I couldn't quite express. I'm building roads to your heart. Because of you, I can find my...
I mean, like, there's not a lot that's changed from the guitar perspective in this. I think primarily because his voice covers a wide frequency range. He's got a nice low resonance while sitting in that mids and highs. But it was also just the guitars are nice and chirpy and sort of pretty enough to be able to not really need the additional instruments.
Because of you,
I mean, like, typically when you're bass and drums, it's for a fuller sound, and that can be helpful with the vocalist in like a higher range, or if the guitar's predominantly in that upper range of the fretboard. But yeah.
Because of you, I obsess, I believe. Because of you, I can find my way. Because of you, I can breathe.
Because of you, I can find my way. Because of you, I can breathe. I mean, I think that's gorgeous. The sentiment there, the message there, the appreciation for that person is immense.
We'll find a way, one way or another. 'Cause of you, I obsess, I believe.
Charming. That's wonderful. That's fantastic. And this is the conclusion of my review of this album of Illustrative Anecdotes by Tim Langworthy. What do I think this album is about? I think this album is a set, well, Illustrative Anecdotes is storytelling, basically. These are stories that Tim wanted to tell because of you. You know, I think it's about appreciating someone who helped become a better person and showing gratitude for that. You know, Gone Again, as I mentioned earlier, my understanding of Gone Again is that it's about someone... Actually, that was a little bit weird for me. I don't think I entirely got that one. They're either missing someone who's gone again or gone on a journey, or they're looking at themselves and they're gone again. And like, maybe they're not even present in the moment of where they're at. Their mind is somewhere else from their body, and there's just a dissonance or disconnection between the people that they need to have or something like that. I'm a little bit ambiguous on it, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe I need to have another listen through it in my own time. Old Man Sitting on a Step, I think, is about people, just ordinary people sitting on a set, wondering about the world around them, coping with what happens from the people up above and everything like that, and looking at like sort of authority and everything like that, and sort of our connections about that and our feelings and thoughts. The letter, I think, was about someone writing a letter to their family during like wartime, especially with that line, hopefully the flowers bloom away from the gun or something like that. I think that's a really sad line, but I think it's a really poignant one. Abuse, well, I think that was about someone who basically got abused and then decided to kill the person they were with. And Because of You Unplugged was a reimagining of the original, predominantly with guitars and vocals. I think that it's good to do an unplugged version of a single if you know it's going to be big. So yeah, definitely, I got a lot of love for that. The vocals in this album were fantastic. I've got a lot of love for what was done on behalf of Tim. He's a great singer, great sort of control of technique with his chest voice there. Really competent at communicating the emotion he's trying to select project. I think he genuinely felt what he was talking about, and that came through in his music. He didn't need to push further than he needed to, or than he had to, in order to make it seem sort of believable. There was nice use of like various vocal techniques, like again the vibrato was fantastic. That also the legato passages and interesting sort of note choices, and you know, like he would also just kind of like, because he put the accents in the right places as well. This is someone who's a very, very skilled singer, who's very polished on the mic, and who knows what they want to get out of their sound and their tone, and how to make it work for the story. I mean, the tracks within this album, now that we've obviously got a singer who's very, very good at what they do, the tracks in this range from like the typical sort of 2.5 to 3.5 minute mark to like Abuse, which was a long form of 6 minutes. I think that these were good decisions to be made. I think that having most of the album below that 4 minute mark allows people to sort of eat like popcorn, you know, have it smaller, so that, because he's already a great singer-songwriter, but even if you're really good at writing and performing music, you know, 5 minutes is a lot. I teach students in my own time, like my main job is a music teacher, and a lot of kids I work with are like, no, 3 minutes is too long. And it's because a lot of people nowadays are writing songs which are deliberately below 3 minutes, such as Because of You, both the normal and the unplugged version. It's a conscious decision that we're making here to make stuff that's more sort of bite-sized, so that we can get through albums easier, so that we don't have to be like, oh, we'll just play the one song that suits the Spotify algorithm. We're going to play the whole album from start till finish. So I think it's great that we played Because of You as the first one, which is such a strong track, but also a shorter one, so that we understood that you know, that you got a good feel of who they were as a musician early on, without any regrets whatsoever. I think that was fantastic. I think that in general, the situation that we had with the instrument choices, like the guitars, the bass, the synths, the strings, they were fantastic. Honestly, like I think it was gorgeous to have again the organs as well. We had a lot of instruments that were very typical for this kind of acoustic, so country kind of rock genre. I did like when we got a bit heavier with the overdrive and distortion, such as in the letter and everything like that, where things got a bit more sort of filthy and grungish, tonally, I mean. But we never strayed away from a lot of these sort of compositional sort of like chord progression choices, where we had like lots of open chords or like sus2 or 4 chords there. If we did have some diminished 7ths or, you know, -7 flat 5s or something like that, there are occasional, we just didn't want to have too much tension in here. It was more about having a sort of a neutral, enjoyable tone to it, whilst also reflecting the innate intricacies of the music we're doing. We understood that there was a nuance that we needed to basically get to here that I think was really good. I listened to this and I go, okay, this guy understands how to write music, and he also knows how to get the instruments, not only choose the instruments that work well together, but also get them to, you know, how do I say it? Get them to sort of niche well with each other. And like the bass guitar was predominantly down that low end, registering with the root notes and everything. It did lift a little bit, like with you know, Abuse, where it kind of went up in the fretboard a little bit and rolled up those ascending scale shapes and stuff like that. And I mean, like the drums weren't always a quarter eighth notes the whole time either. They had some interesting sort of 16th grooves, some triplet kind of ghost notes, or some interesting sort of rim shot techniques and lots of different fills and stuff, but they never overplayed. And I mean, don't even get me started on like the lead guitar stuff, man. Like there are a lot of little lead licks and melodies within this track. Some of them times they were cool in response. Now he's just an insane player. Like that technique, as a guitarist, I can tell this one, they can shred if they wanted to, and they just had such phenomenal restraint there. They knew Abuse was their big song, the big one on the list. They wrote a compelling enough track up until that point, instrumentally, vocally, thematically, story-wise, that they could get away with having a slick little like lead bit, and they only had it for a little bit of it. It was so quick that we were like, wow, they're incredible, but then you got pulled back into that hook again. And that restraint, I think, is part of why I enjoy Tim Langworthy and what they do as a musician. They're clearly intelligent and calculated, but they also have this genuine warmth to them, and they just want to tell stories. From a compositional perspective there, you know, and with those organs and other sort of like key elements being like sub layers on top to kind of add a bit of warmth and mid-range to a lot of it, or add a bit of sparkle occasionally. We just had the recording, mixing and mastering, the studio production, which was stunning. I think that they absolutely smashed it out of the park. The vocals were recorded really well. I liked the EQing for the most part. I took a bit of time to get used to his vocal timbre and the way that he expressed himself, but the words did come through clearly. And I think it was just a bit of that sort of accent, that sort of southern twang, if I'm not mistaken. And if I am mistaken, please let me know. And once I got my head around that, things started to sort of normalize a little bit. I could kind of see how it worked out with the extreme panning of some of those guitar parts, but also little sort of like automated pans there, which shows like a more sort of intensive understanding of music theory, music production itself. We also had, again, like the quality of the recording of the guitars, the bass, the drums, and the organs, and everything else, and strings was fantastic. Things were notched nicely, EQ'd well, in a way where they were easy to sort of understand and follow in the mix, and melded and amalgamated well together. There was a nice amount of dynamic range to the performance. I didn't agree with that statement at the beginning, but as we had more of the album, as I went through it, I was like, oh, okay, they've wanted to mix or master this more like a single, whereas this one is more like a ballad, a long form journey kind of thing. So I understood the steps they played there, and then that's fine. It was definitely loud enough, but it didn't pump at the same time. You know, there was no need to sidechain the kicks. It was fluffy and enjoyable, and I had a great time with it. Yeah, ultimately, I'm very impressed with this album by Tim Langworthy. I'm sure the rest of the tracks outside of the 6 we listened today are of the same caliber. And yeah, this is my review of Illustrative Anecdotes. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show Tim Langworthy some love via their various social medias, Spotify page. Stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands Out.